Alright, impromptu video about my Galaxy S7 Edge A-Cam Studio / tabletop setup. And let's start with the most integral part of this setup, and that's the lighting. What I use to light these situations in my intros and outros, and pretty much all of my tabletop stuff that I do, are these giant softbox LED lights. Number 1 and number 2. And they're really the key element to getting the look that I have in my intros and outros, which is a pretty clean and upfront look. Upfront because I pretty much illuminate everything that you see on screen to the same extent. And also, the power of these lights allows me to shoot this tiny smartphone sensor at an ISO of 50, which is the lowest possible value, so I can make sure to get the least amount of digital noise even when using a sensor as tiny as this. So really, when you're studio shooting, in general, lights are the most important thing. It's a little counterintuitive: lights, lens, camera. Let's take a quick look inside one of these lights. These are 9 LED light bulbs, giving me 16,000 lumen of brightness, and it's the same with this one over here. The bigger the surface area of the diffuser, the smoother the shadows. And I'm going for the most smooth shadows possible to get the upfront look, because I don't want any areas to recede or to come forward. I want everything visually, in the way it's perceived, to be on almost the same plane. So this whole contraption rests on my no-name but very durable tripod that I basically use for this purpose only. On top of it, a ball head, and on top of the ball head, this whole thing. Now, why use a ball head and not just connect this to the tripod directly? Because every A-Cam setup has to pass the following test. Can I easily and quickly translate it into a tabletop setup? And using this ball head allows me to use a quick release plate solution to quickly take this whole thing off the ball head and put it on my little monopod right here. Now, base of this whole setup is a simple dual flash bracket that on the one side has the controls and the battery pack for this little LED light that I'm using. The other side has a Camfi L bracket, and that is what I'm talking about. This L bracket is attached directly to the dual flash bracket. Then to this Camfi L bracket, I attached the Ulanzi Ironman 2 smartphone grip. One of the best, if not the best, smartphone grip I have ever had. And of course, I use it to secure the central piece of this setup, which is my Galaxy S7 Edge smartphone. Now, the phone, of course, supplies great video. Great audio, in this case, is supplied by my Rode VideoMic Pro and the Saramonic SmartRig preamp. Now, the SmartRig I'm simply using to boost the already pretty strong signal I'm getting from the plus 20 decibel pregain in the Rode VideoMic Pro just by a little bit, so I can get the cleanest possible audio at the highest possible volume out of these two devices directly into my S7 Edge, which is especially useful when I'm shooting this as an A-Cam studio setup like I'm doing right now, or with my intros and outros, with the microphone then being set up further away from myself. Now, the SmartRig is actually intended for the use with microphones with an XLR output. Respectively, it has an XLR input. So to hook up 3.5mm 3-pole mics like the Rode VideoMic Pro, you will need the Rode XLR to 3.5mm adapter. So in this case, the Rode VideoMic Pro connects to the 3.5mm XLR adapter that connects to the Saramonic SmartRig. The SmartRig itself then connects to this EduTeach 4-pole to 4-pole right angle adapter. Now, I could have easily connected my SmartRig directly to the S7 Edge because it does come with a 3.5mm 4-pole jack. I didn't do it for this very reason. Using the EduTeach right angle adapter, instead of plugging it in like this directly, allows me to move the smartphone almost all the way up to the vertical part of the L bracket, which in turn allows me to lock this micro USB extension cable that I'm using as my power supply cable between the vertical part of the L bracket and the smartphone itself, so it is secured and won't come undone. This tiny LED light only serves two purposes. Purpose number 1, to give me a little bit of an edge with the final image. This is without the LED light, and this is with the LED light. Without and with. Without and with. Second purpose is to help illuminate dark subjects that are close to the lens when I'm doing tabletop stuff. Also, it will run through its 4AA batteries pretty quickly. You might get 30 to 45 minutes out of a complete charge. So using rechargeables is a very good idea. Now, as far as the app goes, I'm using the standard camera app because I can run it in pro mode, and then I have all manual controls. As I said before, I'm using an ISO of 50. My white balance is 5000 Kelvin, giving me the desired cool look. Usually, if I'm using it as a studio setup, I'm in autofocus mode, and also when I'm doing tabletop stuff, autofocus works very well. The only time I switch to manual focus is if I'm recording menus. I'm using the standard picture profile, and I expose correctly via shutter speed only. Let's not forget to turn on the Rode VideoMic Pro. I'm always using the plus 20 decibel pregain and the built-in low-cut filter. Now, trick number 1 relates to how I applied the Rode VideoMic Pro to the L bracket. I used 2 mini ball heads, and this one is connected to the L bracket via this 1/4" to 1/4" adapter. The one end fits the vertical part of the L bracket, the other end fits the bottom part of the first ball head. And applying it like this via 2 mini ball heads allows me to easily reverse the mic so I can narrate scenes from behind the camera, for example when I'm doing tabletop videography. Look at the tiny blue feet. Isn't he adorable? Using the setup in this configuration being very up close to the mic, I will utilize a dead cat to prevent pop sounds and distortion from breathing into the mic. And using the setup in its ACAM studio capacity, being further away from the microphone, I can easily skip on the dead cat. Now the second trick relates to how I applied the Saramonic Smart Rig and the little ring light to this contraption, 3M dual lock Velcro. And what this is basically a very sturdy, all plastic kind of Velcro. I just applied some to the back of the smartphone grip and to the back of the Smart Rig. And this way, you can easily put it onto the whole setup. Same thing with the little ring light. I just applied some 3M dual lock to the back of it and the back of the Samsung lens cover case, which I almost forgot, by the way. This is the Samsung lens cover case that comes with a wide angle converter as well as a teleconverter, essentially giving you 3 options to choose from. Teleconverter 4K, regular rear camera 4K, wide angle converter 4K. On top of that, if you're shooting 4K, you can use a 4K 1080p crop, giving you 3 more viewing angles. Wide angle converter 4K 1080p crop, regular rear camera 4K 1080p crop, teleconverter 4K 1080p crop. So that's the whole setup, and by now you have a pretty good idea of why I call it Frankenstein, because there's just a lot of cables sticking out of it. So if you liked the video, if you found it helpful, please make sure to leave a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated. Any kind of comment or feedback is welcome, and I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. Also, should you feel like supporting the channel, definitely check out the video description. There might be some product links that are interesting for you. In any case, as always, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching, and hopefully see you again soon.